everyone, hope you're having a great week alongside Andy Gresh. I'm Haley Outen. Welcome in to an all-new episode of the American Huddle as we look ahead to week 2 of the college football season. Andy, all the action this week gets started in prime time. SMU at TCU. How do the Mustangs bounce back against the Horned Frogs?
Well, they're going to have to score a lot of points because I think the one thing we know about TCU is that defensively they're always very good, but they play in a league that is really about offense. So, you know, for Sonny Dykes' crew, I mean, it was a rough week 1, there's no question. But now it's, all right, let's continue to add layers of our offense. We continue to install, maybe try to find some wide receivers so you can really start spreading teams out the way Sonny likes to. And look, TCU, they're no joke. I think we've come to really learn and respect what that program has accomplished over the past couple of years. But you get a little in-state action. You got kids playing for something more than just the name on the front or the back of the jersey.
There's an iron skillet on the line, too.
There is. And listen, I love filling up the iron skillet. You get it nice and hot. However, with the iron skillet, did you know that the best way to heat one is to put it in an oven and let the oven heat up to 500 degrees. That way the whole skillet is ready to go. So when you throw your yum-yums in there, you got good, even cooking from the skillet. I didn't get this fat not knowing how to cook.
Things I did not expect to learn in our second episode this year. I think, you know, we're transitioning here into like a little bit of a Food Network theme.
Well, I mean, you know, look, food and football go together, right?
They absolutely do.
How many times
There's
you go
no football without a good tailgate or a good barbecue or whatever. So we appreciate all of that insight.
Of course, and we'll see how SMU does in bouncing back. I think, you know, arguably, Haley, the biggest improvements some teams make are between week 1 and week 2. And I think we'll see a very different looking SMU team against TCU.
Saturday has no shortage of action either. A ton of Power 6 opponents. Andy, I want to get your thoughts on this group of games. Georgia Tech at USF, a home game. Arizona at Houston, another home game. North Carolina at ECU, another home game. Tulsa heads to Texas, and then, of course, Memphis and Navy. So a group of games where there's a chance to make a very big statement. What do you expect to see in this group of games?
Well, number one, let's start with ECU, right? Okay, so ECU's got to bounce back. We know they're against the North Carolina squad that's gone through a little bit of turmoil. So I think from that end, let's see if they can take advantage of a UNC team that may end up having some issues. Georgia Tech and USF. Georgia Tech is a team that, again, they're like Navy because they run that offense. So in terms of USF, it may be easier for them to prepare. But I think from the Bulls standpoint, Haley, it's clearly about what are they going to get out of the quarterback spot and can they just keep rolling along here? I think that is a very winnable game. Then you got Arizona and Houston. And if you're Arizona, all right, you got a good quarterback in Khalil Tate. Well, you got to stop Ed Oliver. And it begins right there in terms of if he's going to blow up the middle of that offense at Arizona, then they're going to have issues doing anything. I think we saw it last week that Ed Oliver is a guy who can absolutely dominate in the middle. So if they find a way to take care of him, they can have some success. I would, however, like to see Houston develop a little bit more of an identity. It felt like when Tom Herman was there, it was, we knew what Houston was going to be. Now, we know there's a lot of Ed Oliver, and then who else is going to play well? I think we need to see that offense take a step forward here under Major Apple.
Another big game is Navy hosting Memphis. We know the midshipmen play very well at home, and they're bouncing back off a tough road loss at Hawaii. Yeah. What do you expect to see in this key West Division matchup?
I expect it to be much more difficult for Memphis, and I think Navy bounces back in a big way. We talked earlier this week about how you go all the way to Hawaii. There's a lot of all the other stuff that would go on surrounding the Naval Academy, especially playing out there. So I think you're home, you're in the home surroundings. And look, I know that Memphis prepared for a Mercer team where they knew they could just outscore them. So I don't know how much of the early install in terms of a defensive game plan has already been implemented down in Memphis, but they're going to have to get ready to go against a couple of different quarterbacks. And look, the one thing about Navy that is very hard to prepare for, well, it's really two things. Number one is when they decide to play action, they get chunk plays. The other thing about Navy is you don't know when the trick play is coming. And say it starts to get tilted a little bit and it's 21-7 Memphis, boom, you get hit with a trick play, you reignite the crowd, you get the offense going again. Navy has the ability to beat you in a lot of different ways. So I think for Memphis, it's a much tougher opponent. And for Navy, yeah, they're playing a tough opponent, but they played a pretty tough one in Hawaii last week.
A few other games on the schedule on Saturday to be on the lookout for. We have Buffalo at Temple, South Carolina State at UCF, Cincinnati in the battle for the Victory Bell at Miami of Ohio, Nichols at Tulane, and UConn at Boise. Which of these games really stands out to you?
Cincinnati, because, I mean, they look earlier last week, they get the win against UCLA, and then it's okay, can they follow it up in a rivalry game? I don't care what you think of Miami of Ohio, rivalry games always mean more. We just touched on it in terms of SMU. I want to see Cincinnati follow up that good performance, and I think they can regardless of who's in a quarterback.
We've talked a lot about the lessons that can be taken from week one. How do those translate into what we see in week two?
Well, Haley, a lot of it is hard coaching, right? So, and I went through this in my college career. You play week one, and you might win, but you're going to make a lot of mistakes. There's going to be a lot of picky things that the coaches are going to really nitpick the players on this week. And I think individually from a player standpoint, you want to grow every week, but you have a chance to really take a quantum leap if you're a young guy or someone just getting some playing time, because then it's like, okay, now I know what it's all about. Now I understand the speed of the game. Now I can go out and play fast because I know what I'm doing. And I think the biggest improvements for a lot of teams take place week one to week two. So we will be here next week after these slate of games, really evaluating, okay, who took the jump or who got better and were maybe much more reflective of who they really are, like Navy.
In your opinion, which team makes the biggest jump from week one to week two?
I think it's going to be Navy against Memphis. I really do. And Memphis, I still want to see how good their defense is and can they stop the run, or are they going to be the team that's going to give up 28 to 30 points every game and have to go outscore people? Because for me, it's really two-sided, Haley. I want to see how good Memphis is and if their defense can step up and play well. And then Navy, I think a lot of circumstances, and again, they played a really good team. They're going to be ready to go for this game. It's a home opener. There's always the excitement around the Naval Academy, everything that they stand for. I think it can be intimidating for someone walking into Baltimore and having to try to beat them. So to me, I think Navy beats them. I'm going to call it an upset because we know what it means for the West Division in the league too. So there's a lot on the line. I just think Navy's going to show out better than they did against Hawaii.
All right, hot take. There you go, making bold predictions for week two. What is your biggest question heading into this weekend?
Oh boy, the biggest question for me heading into this weekend, I would say, can Cincinnati follow it up? And, does Tulane get on track too? Like, Tulane's one of those teams where I look at them and say, okay, they've been building. When is it going to happen for them offensively? I'd like to see them pop, but I think that I would go number one. Let's see if Cincinnati can follow up what they did last week against UCLA.
All right, to close out this preview show, at this time next week, what will have happened?
Woo! Navy will have gotten a win. I think Cincinnati will have followed up with a win. And then after that, all bets are off. I think those are the two things that I feel the most confident in. That Navy and Cincinnati are going to show up. They're going to play well. They're going to get victories. And, I mean, let's be honest. If you're Navy and you beat Memphis, that's big in that West Division. And Cincinnati, hey, it's there for their, look, the East is wide open. They got a chance here. So let's see if they can follow up and get themselves a good rivalry win.
All right, we'll hold you to that next week. We're excited to be back here in the studio with you all season long, bringing you episodes of the American Huddle each and every week with this guy, Andy Gresh. I'm Haley Out, and we're going to have a ton of coverage for you all weekend long. Make sure to follow along on Twitter at American_FB, as well as our Facebook page at American Conf. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week.